Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. Live life. Live fully.
Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We love having you here, and it's our mission to bring you all the latest and greatest tips, skills, and know-how to make you the best that you can be. We know that you have it in you, and we're going to show you how. Now, let's get started.
Good to have you on Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. I'm the host of Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. On Live Well, so what has now we like to focus on personal development, occasioning expert and professionals who are adept in these topics. Personal development and self-improvement is a lifelong process that we all must embrace in order to move from where we are to where we need to be. Now, today I have Bennett, who's a social psychologist and also an entrepreneur on the show today. Welcome with me, Bennett, on Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Thanks for joining me on the show. I'd like us to begin with this. What is so important about uncomfortable ideas?
Well, I wrote that book because society, I guess, was kind of diverging from reality in many ways, and in a different way that most people think. Like right now, if you look at what's going on in the world, you could see how people are living in little ideological bubbles. And there's a group that most people would say are clearly wrong and not accepting reality. However, what's interesting is if you put everybody in two different groups, you would see that both groups have elements of not accepting reality. And I don't mean to equivocate the two. I don't mean to say that both are equally not accepting reality, because clearly some people and some groups are far more not accepting reality than other groups. It's not a case of everybody's the same and we all don't accept parts of reality. So I just wanted to make that clear. But with uncomfortable ideas, there are parts of reality that we don't like to accept because they go against our ideological beliefs, or they go against maybe some of the narratives that we have been taught, the narratives that we have been expressing. And even though we might know at some level this is the way reality is, this is what science tells us, we have this cognitive dissonance where we feel uncomfortable, but ultimately our ideological beliefs win out because they're just so powerful and strong, and we just kind of stick with our own group and stick with our bubble, within our bubble, and we keep regurgitating these non-truths, which again is bad for everybody. I think that we have to accept reality even when it's uncomfortable, and just kind of deal with it. And as I write in the book, there are many instances where accepting reality as it is a much better path to solving the problem than ignoring it and pretending it doesn't exist. Because if you or pretending there's another problem. One of the examples that I used, like everything in the book is controversial. Let's just make that very clear. No matter who you are, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, where you stand with religion, where you stand with sexual issues, you're going to be offended by something in this book. That's just the nature of the book, and I'm perfectly okay with that because that's essentially what the book is all about. But one of the issues is with police brutality and race and the transgender community and violence against them, like these different groups where how police might treat people different. Like no question that's an issue, and that's definitely founded by facts and reality. But when we have so many people focusing on like gender issues or racial issues, when it comes to something like the way police are treating people, we're missing the bigger picture, which is police brutality, because there's also a huge portion of which we would consider normative people in the society, like this white men or whatever, that get seriously abused by the police. So it's not, if we want to solve that problem, we have to focus on police brutality, not gender issues, not racial issues, or any other issues that come up, even political issues that has been related to politics, like police picking on people of certain politics. But the real issue at hand is the police brutality. And that's, once we face that fact, we could address that fact and ultimately solve that problem. So the whole book is kind of filled with things like that.
Right. Now, talking about decision making, what is the importance of the decision making process? Like to share your thoughts?
Sure. Well, we're faced with decisions every day in our lives, obviously, and most of us aren't very good at making decisions, which is unfortunate because, like I said, we're all making decisions every day, multiple times, sometimes hundreds of times a day. Many times the decisions we make are inconsequential. Are we going to have Lucky Charms or Cocoa Pebbles for breakfast? It doesn't matter, right? They're both crappy cereals that'll make us sick and get us fat. However, there are some decisions, obviously, that are of extreme importance. And a lot of times what we do is what would be called like the level 1 versus level 2 thinking. One is like the quick thinking that we do when we're not really engaging with our cognitive faculties, but we're just answering a question or coming through a decision by, let's say, like intuition or feeling. Sometimes that works, but a lot of times for important decisions, it's not a good way to go. And we can't actively, cognitively think about every decision in our life because we just don't have that kind of brain power or time to really cognitively think about every decision. So we have to prioritize, and more importantly, we need to know when the decisions that we make are important enough to really sit back and give it some good thought. And that's only part of it. Then the whole other part of it is knowing how to make decisions, knowing how to evaluate evidence, knowing how to look at all the factors in order to come to the best decision. And that could be like an entire college course on its own. So it gets kind of deep.
Oh, sure. It's really deep. Now, I'd like to share with my audience the biggest biases that affects decision making and how can we minimize them?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'd like you to share with my audience the biggest biases that affects decision making and how can we minimize them?
Oh, the biases, like the cognitive biases. Right. So, well, one, I believe, well, I did mention I forgot which bias I mentioned now, but there are many different decision-making biases. And one is the bias where we believe that we're right in virtually every circumstance, and any information that comes to us that goes against our belief must be wrong. And the information that we see that supports our belief must be right. And that's the confirmation bias. That's one of the biggest biases out there, the most common biases out there. The confirmation bias is also involved in us ignoring information. So, for example, we may be walking through an airport and we'll see one TV channel that is talking about information that favors our political candidate. And we happen to hear all of that and listen to it and agree with it and say, yes, that's fantastic. We walk down another terminal, another TV station is on that's talking negatively about our favorite political candidate, saying a lot of bad things that is probably also true, but yet we completely ignore it, either at a conscious level or most of the time it's at a subconscious level. We just don't even think about it. We're like, yeah, that's probably wrong anyway. So that's a way that the confirmation bias affects our decision-making, because obviously if we do that, we don't have all of the information needed to make a good decision. We only have partial information, and we have, frankly, it's wrong information because it's at best half truth.
Thanks, Bennett, for sharing your thoughts. What makes a person successful in life? Now, I'm asking two in one question. The one question is, what makes a person successful in life? And is it really possible to get everything one wants in life?
Well, the first question is a lot longer, so I'll quickly answer the second question. Is it possible to get everything one wants in life? Yes, if you don't want very much. So if you only want like one or two things, let's say you just want enough food to survive, and that's where your wants are limited to, then yes, you could get everything you want in life. In fact, there are major philosophies that focus on that, like Buddhism, just kind of getting away of all your wants and desires, and essentially you're content, you're happy, you're completely fulfilled because you have everything you want. And you could imagine other people who just want everything and they just keep on wanting and it's never enough. Well, they could have a ton of things. I mean, not just material things, but they could have love, they could have a great family, they could have time, free time, the works, but they still might not be happy because they just keep on wanting more and more and more. So a lot of this is a matter of perspective, and that's where success comes in. Success is defining it in such a way where you can be happy, you can be fulfilled, and have virtually everything you want. And then, of course, there are different aspects of success, like financial success, which can be defined as having enough money to do everything you want, to meet all your wants and desires and needs. Some people might define financial success as just having enough to survive or get by. So it really depends on how you define it. And I don't want to play the everybody gets a trophy card here, saying that, like, minimizing the whole idea of success. Like if you bring down your expectations, then everybody could be successful. Well, I do think there's a lot to having high standards and pushing yourself and having goals and going for it. It's a matter of having the right attitude, basically knowing that you're never going to get everything you want, but you're going to have a lot, and you should really appreciate what you have. So it's at least that's where I come in with my definition of success. It's pushing yourself and constantly pushing yourself to achieve more and more and more, but at the same time being extremely appreciative of what you have and having gratitude, and that's, to me, what it's all about.
All right. Bill, do you have any interesting news you'd like to share with my audience, or any projects in the pipeline you'd like us to know?
Well, I got tons of stuff going on. I've got two websites. One is my personal website where you can find my books, and that's at bobennett.com, BOBENNETT.com. The other one is where you could find all my businesses online. Right now, the vast majority of them are associated with publishing, book publishing, and artificial intelligence. So you could go to archieboy.com. And they also have an affiliate program there where if you like my sites, you could basically be a reseller of them all and make yourself some money.
Absolutely. Any parting word you'd like to share with my audience and your social media handles, if you're any?
Sure. One more project that I'm working on that's a lot of fun is a sitcom. I've started this sitcom project about 5 years ago, wrote it from scratch, did the screenplay, did the casting for it, got voice actors, did all the animation for it, and it's an animated sitcom now on YouTube called Squat. And you could find that at squatspotfitness.com. And it incorporates a lot of what we talked about, critical thinking, psychology, success, but it's a comedy. And I think it's hilarious, and I hope your listeners do too.
Sure, we'll be on the lookout. Thanks so much, Bennett, for sharing your thoughts on today's show on Live Well Lived by Omobola Stephen. I wish you